Millions of people have died for borders, flags, and identities. But was it really worth it? What if I told you the same force that unites people can also be one of the bloodiest conflicts' main cause?
Today we are going to talk about one of the most powerful and also the popular political identity, nationalism. As a definition, nationalism is just a group of people who share the same culture, history, religion, ethnicity, got their independence, and they have a state of themselves. In nationalism, it's coming like from the nation, but nation doesn't necessarily mean like German nation or like French nation. It can be people with same religion,
Same ethnicity,
also
identity,
same culture, same history.
maybe.
Like this context, it can change like, very differently, but the main idea is that these people are gathering together, unites, and they get their independence and they have their own state.
And what they basically say is that nation comes first.
Exactly. And today we are going to talk about the nationalism, how it is created, how it affected the world history, and what it looks like nowadays with the real life examples. But really diving deep into the nationalism, for understanding this, I would like to start from the core of the nationalism, which is actually the French Revolution.
Exactly. So, how was the situation in France at that time, before the revolution happened? Why did they just decide to make a revolution and start nationalism? What caused it?
Exactly. Like nationalism basically starting to show up when actually the situation is getting worse and getting bad. And nationalism was just basically counterattack against the monarchy, like the traditional monarchy in the Europe history.
King Louis XVI was
Exactly.
the monarch at the time, king of the time.
So basically, during this time, how was the situation in France? There's generally three estates, like three groups of people, let's say, in the France.
Yeah.
The first one, they were like the clergies. These are basically like the leaders of the churches.
Yeah, religion people.
Yes, and they are like about 1% of the population of the France. At that time, French population was about like 60 million. So they owned about like 10 to 15% of the total lands in the French territory, and they paid no taxes.
Yeah, that's the problem number one. They didn't
Yes.
pay any taxes.
The second is just basically lords, dukes, like nobles. It's also almost like the 1% of the whole population, but they control about like 30-35% of the whole landscape in the French territory.
Did they pay taxes?
They paid taxes, but it was very low.
Okay, we can say they didn't pay taxes.
Yes,
too.
like
This
almost
was
no
very
taxes. And the rest, like the majority of the population, it is just like ordinary people, farmers, some maybe lawyers, some worker, peasants, and other people.
Yeah.
And these people were like the major taxpayers, and their taxes were very high.
Yes.
And during this time, the Louis XVI was just basically living in the golden life and like the dreams in the Versailles palace.
Yeah.
He was living like very luxurious lifestyle and didn't really pay too much attention about like the people, about their situation. And people in the Paris, they were just basically starving. And imagine just yourself, you are belonging to this third group, like to the ordinary people, which is like the big percentage probability. These nobles, they are drinking their wines, they are eating their baguettes, croissants. I don't know, they are just doing
They're
stuff.
doing fine. Also, they were actually owning the land that you're working. Yeah?
Exactly.
They were owning the land you were working, and at any time, whenever they wanted, they could come up to your land. I don't know, just hunt some animals,
Exactly.
do whatever they wanted. So can you imagine yourself that in that third, state, and you're sort of just this slave, you're not living, you're sort of surviving.
Exactly.
Nothing more than that.
You're just working the whole day, but no one's actually enjoying from the every beauty of the life.
Yeah.
And actually, French Revolution started when this was a situation in the France. They just basically gathered and they wanted just the same rights like as the nobles, that we should actually make some, let's say, new agreements for the tax paying. They should also pay the taxes. But unfortunately, this Louis, he made some mistakes. It's actually like topic for another video, that's why I don't really want to dive in much into like the details. I will just give brief information. So till this time in France, basically people were loyal to some dukes, to some nobles, or to the kings.
Or
After
the
the
church.
yes, or the church. But after the revolution, they started to be loyal to the French nation, to the
Yes.
France. And after the revolution happens, these old people, they start being treated as like as citizens rather than as a subjects. They were not loyal to the king but to the French nation, all of them working very hard for the better of the French nation.
Exactly.
And tax paying also, there was like a new model of this. Right now, this church, they just basically lose all their lands, and they also have to pay the taxes. The same with the nobles, they also have to pay some taxes. And all of them are the same in front of the judge, and everyone just collaborating with each other for the better of the French nation. This is how basically nationalism created.
Modern nationalism.
Exactly. After some period of the time, of course, in the history, we can see different types of the nationalism in different countries. They have added some new structures, combined some new structures with the nationalism, but the same and core idea is the same. There's one nation,
same,
yes, and everything is for this nation.
And like in everything in life, when something is too much, it creates a problem. As I said in the beginning,
Exactly.
it can create bloody conflict. And unfortunately, we cannot sometimes control everything, and if it goes too much,
Exactly.
there are some bloody examples of it. I'd like to start with Nazi Germany.
Which is actually ethnic
ethnic
nationalism.
nationalism, but it was extreme level, yeah?
Yes.
If it's nationalism, it was like...
It's like the
diploma
top most
yeah.
level.
You cannot just pass it by. So what was they doing? What they were basically killing everybody who was not German. I mean, and it most exactly who was not belonging to that Aryan race. So if you're a Jew, if you were a Slav, if you were not part of that Aryan group, I mean, you were meant to be dead. So that was the idea at the time, and most precise, the idea of Hitler at the time. So this happened for, I think, 12 years, between 1933 and 1945, and it's called ethnic nationalism. But unfortunately, there was another example of it. After, let's say, 40 years in Serbia, yeah?
Yes, exactly. I mean, after the collapse of the Yugoslavia, which is like actually 35 years ago, not like too much. The Serbs in Yugoslavia, they started to become like nationalists. They wanted to create like the old Serbian kingdom. All Serbs should be like together. That's why they did some bad like genocide against the people of the Bosnia, especially in the Srebrenica. These Serb nationalists, they killed like about 10,000 people. Doesn't matter, like the man, old, woman, children. Some of like people actually raped like the little girls, like ladies, which is, it's very hard to say, but it really happened just not very far ago.
Yeah.
And Bosnian people, they suffered a lot after this. And it's like the bad examples when nationalism actually starts to be like the radical. But it's not always about like the ethnicity, it can be also something regarding with the religious.
And we have a modern day example of
Exactly,
it,
yes. Basically after that, actually it's also related with Nazi Germany.
yeah.
They killed like 6 million Jews in the Europe, and after this they started to look for the lands and where they would be
Because
safe.
Jews were basically exiled
Yes.
from the Europe.
They started to look like for the places safe for themselves, where they can have their own state, and also from the history like promised lands, blah blah. They should have like a Jewish state in the Israel, and till then they were living like Muslim, Palestinian Muslims, basically like the Arabs. They came out of nowhere, started to think that these lands are promised for us, and we should create our Israel and Jewish state here.
Yes.
And they have also done this by the power of the gun, power of the like technology and the weapons, and they have killed, I mean, over 100,000. And right now it's also continuing in Gaza. They are killing people, children, women. Doesn't matter. These people are just basically Zionists, and
It is called religious nationalism. These three, like the examples that we gave, They are the at most extreme levels that nationalism can rise, and of course, they are not something to be advised. They are not good, because the principle of nationalism was never that.
Yes,
That
exactly.
you have to kill some people. I mean, you can be still nationalist without killing someone, yeah?
Of
You
course.
can still love your country without killing somebody, or you can still love your religion without killing somebody. So,
Exactly.
I mean, what can we say in the end? Is nationalism good or bad?
Neither of them. I mean, nationalism is really great power
Yes.
when the situation is going wrong, when your country in a war, when you're having some, let's say, bad situations in your
Yeah.
country. It's good tool for uniting the people, give them a dignity, to give them like reason to fight.
Yes.
But
But
if you
it
do
has
it-
bad sides too, yeah?
but if you do it like very radically, if you start like to spread the hate, this is where like it actually starts to become like a problem.
Yes.
And you start like killing basically innocent people, and you are starting to claim for the things that is not yours, and you start doing like the bad things.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a metaphor about the nationalism. It says that nationalism is like a fire. The fire can make your home warmer
If you control it.
if you control it, but if you go outside it and you can't control it, it can burn your house.
Yeah. That's a nice metaphor actually.
Exactly.
It's like for everything in this life, there has to be a balance. There has to be a limit. You cannot do much, you cannot do less. You have to be just in the middle.
Exactly. And what do you think about the nationalism? Is it a necessary thing for gathering the people, uniting it, despite having a problem with being the radical? Or do you think that you have to use this but in a balance? What do you think generally about the nationalism? Let us know in the comments.
Do you think we can be still nationalists without killing somebody? Just let us know in the comments.
Sure.
Don't forget to subscribe our channel and like our video. And see you in our next videos.